summertime and all the fun you can have, but isn't summer over in a flash? And summer is really my favorite season, because I love to be out by the pool and just relax and have fun and enjoy that sun. And but it also comes and goes, and we're done with it. You know, it seems like it's here one moment and gone the next. But divine ideas work the same way. We get divine ideas from God one moment, and then boom, they're gone. And if we don't act on them, then it's just a passing thought, and we might not even think about it. And I know that the perfect example of this is when you see something, some infomercial or something like that on what was that, Shark Tank, you know, and stuff, where somebody comes with an idea and they think, God, I thought of that like 10 years ago or 15 years ago. I should have done that. Well, that's the same thing with divine ideas. We get these divine ideas, and if we don't actually synthesize whether they are for us or not, then we are just letting go of good that could be happening to us, for us, around us. But I thought it was really neat when I came up with this title, Summertime Flash, because Charles Fillmore actually has flash in the Revealing Word, which is kind of like his spiritual dictionary of words. And of course, he uses it as this flash of intelligence. But I thought it was really a good direction to go. But he says, the musical genius says he hears the music in a flash and is often at its wit's end to transcribe it fast enough. How many people have had that experience? Maybe not a song, but you have a thought and you want to write it down fast, and then you can't even remember what all it was. Yeah, exactly. Many an immortal poem or prose work has been flashed from the mind of the author without any apparent effort on his part. And that's true. Just like when I get an idea for a talk, I used to always write it down. Now I just speak it into my phone and text myself with that line or whatever, because I know it's a message for me. It's something, and it might turn into a Sunday message, or it might just be something that's singing to my soul. But he continues with this. But if all the prayers and mind efforts of literary geniuses were inquired into, it would be found that there had been heroic mental effort somewhere at some time. The realization of perfection takes root in the mind and may come forth in a flash. Now this is an important line here. That there had been heroic mental effort somewhere at some time. And I think when he says that, he's talking about some kind of meditation, some kind of prayer, some type of awakening within the person themselves that allows them to see that or hear that message that they are to receive. And so it takes us being aware, because it does come in a flash, and it can be gone in a flash, and we all ignore it, or we just keep on going. But the idea of perfectionism here is about divine ideas, because all divine ideas are perfect. All divine ideas are perfect because they come from God. And if a divine idea comes to you in a perfect way, then it's up to us to bring it forth into manifestation in as much of a perfect way as we can bring it forth. And what does that take? It takes us having a Christ consciousness that is open and receptive, a Christ consciousness that is pure, a Christ consciousness that's not distorted by a bunch of negativity. Now, we throw around consciousness a lot in Unity, and yet a lot of times we're not really tapping into the idea of what consciousness really is, because consciousness is for all of us, and is the energy of God, and there's more to that. The Revealing Word tells us this. It says forehead, the seat of perception, and you'll see how this ties into Christ consciousness in just a moment. The forehead is the center of consciousness, which the understanding of truth seals, that is it secretly unites the consciousness with the Christ. Now, the thing we need to look at for a moment is the idea that our forehead, Fillmore defined as points of some of the 12 powers. For example, understanding is above this side. Will is above this side. Imagination, which we call the third eye, is right here in the middle. But right behind that, in the center of our brain, is the pineal gland, which is faith. And when you think about the idea that you're balancing understanding and will, and you're using the energy of faith to tap into the true understanding of understanding and will, that brings forth that vision, that imagination that can take that divine idea, and because you know you are one with God, because you know you have that Christ consciousness, then you can bring it into manifestation. So that's why your forehead is so very important. And people that have had, head injuries, or even you bonk your head or something, think about what that message is for you in that particular thing, because it could be saying, oh, I need more understanding, or it could be saying, my faith is not in action right now, or whatever it is, because that body part will speak to you in so many ways. But we can also see how those powers come together to project externally if we are aware of them internally. Does that make sense? However, once we discover that it comes from within, we begin to reveal the power of consciousness. Once we know that all of this comes from within, we're not out here making it happen. It is all there already, which allows us to see clearly. The power of consciousness allows us to see clearly, while validating the capital T truth we know through our connection with God, which is the Christ within each of us. That's Christ consciousness. That Christ within each of us is that idea that God is within us, being able to connect in consciousness with everybody. You say, how could God be everywhere at the same time? Well, God is everywhere at the same time through our consciousness. That's why it's so important to understand what that word really means. And the minute we tap Christ on there, then we have elevated that consciousness to a higher place. The perfect example is Jesus. Jesus did that when he did miracles or any of those things. He tapped into that Christ consciousness, which is a higher level of consciousness. And that's where we want to live from in order to have all the good show up in our lives, in order to manifest more good in our lives. And it comes in a flash, just like anything. It comes in a flash. And these Christ ideas, or divine ideas, are the thing we got to pay attention to. So once we elevate our Christ consciousness, it's easier to see that, to have it come forth, to be able to know that this is a Christ idea, a divine idea. Oh, I got to figure out if that's for me or not. From Fillmore's book, Dynamics for Living, he gives us these instructions. The best way to prove if you're having a divine idea for yourself is to take some statement of truth, capital T truth, that is not clear, and hold it in mind. So anytime you hear anything that you're not sure of, or you see something that you're not sure of, just stop and hold it in your mind. And relax for a minute. Don't let all that other stuff come in. Just hold that thought for a moment. And like I said, if you don't have time right then, text it to yourself. And then later look at, because it'll pop up on your phone that you have a text. It'll say from you. And if you're driving in your car will say, Francie just texted you. Or whatever your name is, which is kind of funny. But you can read it again when you have a moment of silence. And that could be in the bathroom. Who knows? But when you have that moment of silence, take time to hold that idea of truth, and more will be revealed. Because that's how Christ consciousness works. That's how we tap into that idea. But the power of the word will quicken the understanding, and light will flash from within. And this is spiritual knowing. And isn't that what we strive for? Spiritual knowing? Mm-hmm. I mean, just kind of bathe in that for a minute, because that spiritual knowing is what we come together for. To get to know more about our own spirit, about how we can be together in this world and still be a spiritual being. And so you might be asking yourself, does this really work? And how do I know if the message is mine or not? And of course, with everything that we do, we remember the simple fact that God only wants good for us. And God is only good. So if we know that, we're jumping in right there into that idea of the Christ consciousness. You see, because we're perfectly aligning with God in that moment. But think about this for a moment. Maybe you're sitting here right now thinking about the snacks or something. Maybe you came in and saw the cookies and the cake back there and you're thinking, oh, I better not do that. That sugar might not be good for me. Or, oh, I better not have that. Yeah, because of calories or whatever, you know. Yeah, and then you sit there through the whole dang service going, God, I wish I could just have a bite of that cookie. Well, I wish I would have ate that cookie. And our minds, as much as we want to focus on what I'm saying or what the meditation was or what the song brought to you, no, you keep thinking, hey, I need that cookie, I really do. And then what happens is we sit here and torture ourselves, don't we? But this is the thing. We keep telling ourselves no. And then we keep telling ourselves, oh, you don't need the sugar. Oh, you don't need the calories. We start laying on the guilt and the shame and all that junk that pushes us away from Christ consciousness. So, of course, you're not going to listen to the message. You're going to be thinking about the cookie and cake. And if anybody's in that state right now, please go back and get you. Because I don't want you torturing yourself. But the thing that we can do, you know, there you go. Please, I'm telling you. So here's what kind of happens in that moment. Your mind obsessed over the snack. You missed out on paying attention to the message or whatever the divine idea or Christ idea that you were supposed to receive today because you're focusing on that snack. And you still chose to go eat it after service anyway, didn't you?
Yes.
Because it's been bugging you through the whole darn thing.
I did it before service, so it's been done.
There you go. But all of that you tortured yourself with was nothing but a waste of time, thoughts, and energy. And why do we do that to ourselves? Because you know what a simple solution would have been? To take the cookie and break off a little piece and pop it in your mouth. Or take the cake and cut a little piece and pop it in your mouth. Sometimes that little nibble is just enough to get you over that idea that you have to obsess over something that you're wanting in that moment. It clears your mind and keeps you from putting that guilt or shame or all that stuff, you know, and distracts you from the truth that you really want to live. And it opens up that flow so that you can receive the divine idea or the Christ idea that you need in that moment. Because you know why? Because this simple thing. We must always remember God meant it for good. And we must not distort the idea. Spiritual knowing takes us in the direction we and God want us to live. Now, does God want you to go back there and shovel 10 cookies in your mouth at one time? No. But if you want to taste something or you think you want something in that moment, don't say no right away. Stop. Take a breath. Pray. Open yourself up to deciding whether that was really what you want or not. Because 9 times out of 10 for me, if I see something and I think, oh, I want that bite, a lot of times once I get the bite, I'm like, why did I eat that? Why did I even taste that? Because it really wasn't what I wanted in that moment. What I was wanting in that moment is something more divine. That, you know, I wanted something more that could lift me up higher than anything that is going to torture me. That's for sure. Anyway, so from Dynamics from Living, Fillmore says, believe in the quickening power of the Word. Believe that you can tell yourself, okay, I can have a bite. I can even have a whole cookie, but I can't have the whole tray. But I can have this divine idea, and I can decide if this divine idea is for me or not. And once I decide if it's for me or not, then I can go and figure out what is mine to do. Because it's always about the fifth unity principle, which is on that side of the room. You know, we have to put it into action. We have to take whatever we receive in prayer meditation or whatever ideas we receive and put them into action. So it's the quickening power of the Word. Hold the Word in mind. It will reveal itself, for wrapped in the Word is its meaning. And you, being the image and likeness of God, can understand it if you make a connection with your inner, what? Consciousness, yes. By planting it in your consciousness and waiting for its fruit, anyone can prove that the Word is seed. That idea, that thought you had could be a seed to the next thing that you're going to grow with, that you're going to be a part of. It could be the seed. Thinking about those cookies could be the seed to come up with a new recipe or doing something different or thinking, hey, I could share this with the world, whatever. But when we think about a good seed, we know that it's going to bring forth what? Now, it doesn't take us learning how our messages will come. We just have to be aware of how they will come, because for each person, the messages come in a different way. And I've talked about this before, because we each have our own way. Some people digging out in the dirt, planting flowers and stuff is their way to receive a message. Their minds get clear or whatever. Some people reading a book and then just relaxing and thinking about it. Some people sitting at the beach or at the pool, you know. You can sit there and just be, I mean, even if I'm watching the boys swim, I can still just be totally relaxed and think about being one with God. There are places and times that things will come to us easier. And we have to make time for those places that are going to speak to our soul. You know, sometimes you get busy doing something. Cleaning for me too is another thing. If I start cleaning, then my mind is in a spiritual kind of, you know, space. It's like it's not connected to anything I'm actually doing. It's that I'm cleaning and that the thoughts come rushing in. And sometimes I do have to stop and speak to my phone. Another thing for me is putting my makeup on in the morning. I mean, I have to have a phone there or a piece of paper, because it'll come to me 90 to nothing sometimes. And that's how you have to take that in and realize those divine ideas will come to you. Find the thing that works for you. Not everybody's the same. I know some people do it when they mow yards, you know, get on where they can't hear anything else and just, you know, it's just like that noise, that relaxing noise. But all can be revealed to us if we are open to it. These are flashes of understanding are waiting for us to activate our consciousness so that we may benefit from God's good. Who in this room wants to benefit from God's good?
Oh, man.
I hope everybody raises both hands. Exactly. Because that's where we're at. We have to have that understanding. We have to know that that's what we want in life. And when we want that, then we're going to receive it, aren't we?
Yes.
Okay, and of course we do, like I said before, we have to follow. We have to know what is ours to do and not put our ego into it. Because sometimes we get this divine idea and we think, oh, well, I'm going to make sure everybody knows that I am doing this. You ever been around somebody like that? Oh, yeah. Yeah, and you can't allow your ego to get in the way. But other than that, we can bring forth and invite others to join us, because it's the good for not just me, it's the good for all, everybody. That's right. From Jesus Christ Heals, the book Philmo wrote, he says, God does not manifest intelligence. God is that obtrusive knowing in everyone which, when acknowledged, flashes forth into intelligence. Now, this sounds kind of crazy, but this is important for us to know about divine ideas, because God does not manifest intelligence. We are here to manifest anything that God wants. So God is intelligence, and God wants us to manifest anything that is intelligent. And who's intelligent in this room? Everybody's hands should be up. Because everybody's intelligent. You might not claim it for yourself, but you better start. Because if God is intelligence, we are intelligence. You got that?
Yes.
Because that's the way it works. That is exactly how it works. And as a child of God, we can bring it forth in a flash. We can bring any intelligent thought forward in a flash if we are open and receptive. He continues with this. God is not matter, nor confined in any way to the idea of substance termed matter. God is that intangible essence which man has formed and called matter. Thus, matter is a limitation of the divine substance whose vital and inherent character is, above all else, limitless. Let's start with the first half. God is not matter, nor confined in any way to the idea of substance termed matter. You got that? And a good example of this quote really is how Reverend Warren always says, you can always, if you want to make money, build a better mousetrap. Have you ever heard him say that? Well, he says it over time, off and on. And so that's the truth. Whatever the bench that you're sitting on is matter. It was a divine idea. Someone along the way said, well, let's build these benches that we can put in a church and let's call them pews. I mean, pew? Really? But that was the divine idea. I mean, but is that limiting? It's limiting in the form it is right now. But the divine idea of building a bench or seat or chair for a church is not limited to that, is it? Because a lot of churches have, we used to have separate chairs. We got them in the barn for our fellowship hall when it gets built. But separate chairs, I've known people that do the pillows on the floor in a circle. That's a different way to sit. All these ways that divine ideas manifest is up to us to manifest them that way. So God gives us this intelligence. God gives us the divine ideas, but God is not the matter. God does not make it. We get to make it. And if we don't make it, then what? We are not manifesting God right here on this earth. And a simple way to think of this, not that you have to go out and invent a new chair, but think about the words you say. That's all you have to do. If you want to be a part of the expression of divine ideas and Christ consciousness, then you speak words that are truth, capital T truth. You speak words that are aligned with God. You speak words to yourself, to others, to the universe. You know, try it sometime. Go outside and start talking to a tree and speak positive words of the universe. You'll feel so good. It does make you feel good. And then you bring them in and you say them in the mirror. And when you say them in the mirror, look at yourself. You'll start crying, but that's okay. Because you need to hear that. God gives you all of this for us to turn into matter. Okay, the second part. Matter is a limitation of divine substance, whose vital inherent character is above all else limitless. That's what I'm saying. When Reverend Warren said, build a better mousetrap, how many mousetraps have there been? But you know what? In any moment, there could come out a new one. And so, it's limitless. The ideas are limitless. My idea of something might be different than his idea. That happens all the time. Mine's better, but... Just kidding, just kidding. He knows I am. Okay, so the next one, though, he continues with this, because all this is important when we think about divine ideas in our consciousness. God is not loving. Don't run out the door. God is love, the great heart of the universe and of man. Massive. From which is drawn forth all feeling, sympathy, emotion, and all that goes to make up the joys of existence. God is not loving to rock your world. But if you think about God being love, it doesn't rock your world, because that's the truth. Because God is love, and guess what? So are we. That's why I tell everybody, love you. Because if I could love you, you can love you, you can love me, and I can love me. And then I love you. You see? And it expands out into the universe. There's a whole song that is like that too. We need to do that as a joy song sometime. Anyway, but it takes us into that idea that our consciousness being connected in the oneness of God. If we think about the love that God is, and we are love, then how can we say we hate anybody? We can't, can we? Because then you're saying something negative about God. And who wants that? No one. No, we want to share the love, be the love. Let the love bathe us in how great everything is. And here's one more point, he says. Yet God does not love anybody or anything. God is the love in everybody and everything. You got that? Because God is not loving. God is love. So God is the love in you and me and everybody. That's why we say, when we say love you, we are just acknowledging the truth of God within somebody. Really, we're saying the same thing as, I behold the Christ in you. I see your Christ consciousness. It's a capital T truth. We do that, we build a better consciousness for everybody to enjoy. God is love. Man becomes loving by permitting that which God is to find expression in word and act. Back to what I said. We're here to be that expression of God, to bring forth all those divine ideas, to bring forth love in everything that we do and everywhere we go, and to see it when other people can't see it, to see it in people that suffer or the people that are feeling pain. We can behold the Christ in them and lift them up in consciousness and share that love. And it's going to change everything. We've seen it happen. We've seen it manifest here in people from this church. And we are the ones who bring forth that intelligence, the abundance, the health, all of those good things that God wants for all of us. And it begins from within us. And once we can do that, we can go and lift it up. And the flashes that we get will be so powerful, we'll be paying attention. That flash, we'll go, whoa, that's one's for me. I'm going to go with that one. Or whatever. You know, it's going to be something that is just going to be constant, good coming to us. So will you? Oh, God is, I got one more on that quote. God is the still small voice in every soul that heals and blesses and uplifts. And it is only through the soul that God is made manifest as perfect wholeness. That's what I was saying, wasn't it? Yes. That we are perfect just the way we are, and we can manifest that perfection out into the world. We activate our souls and our spirits, and we are in this new place of understanding. So as these flashes come forth, I want to make sure I'm in the right place, yes. Flashes come forth, we can activate. So let's agree to enjoy the summertime flashes of God's divine good right here, right now. You agree with me?
Yeah.
Thank you for being here today, Carolyn. So the song I have chosen is kind of, I guess I'm on a Disney theme in a way. But it's in summer. Did you guys ever see, whatever that show is?
Frozen.
Huh?
Frozen.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm guessing you don't have much experience with heat. Nope. But sometimes I like to close my eyes and imagine what it'd be like